Today we're going to talk about modulation and a little bit about borrowed chords, chords that are non-diatonic and not necessarily from the key that we started writing in. The biggest thing to remember about using modulation and borrowed chords is probably the 1-5-1 relationship in Western music. Now, as you may know, that is tonic-dominant-tonic relationship, what basically all of our music is based off of. In C major, that will be C to G, back to C. Right, that has the strongest pool of resolve and tension. We're going to take advantage of this by using the 5 of other chords to help us get to those chords and establish them as the new key. So this 5-1 relationship does a really good job at showing us what key we're in and aurally hearing that. Another thing that helps with it is the 7th. Doing a dominant 7, of course, is going to give you that tritone resolution that we're looking for. So we're going to go ahead and add a 7 on this 5 of the following chord. So for our first example, let's say we're in C major and we want to go to the key of D minor. Now, the key of D minor isn't too far away considering that D minor is within the key of C major. So now we're going to have to do a little math here. What is the 5 of D minor? Now right away I can tell you that that's going to be an A. So we're going to want an A major chord, which is spelled A, C sharp, E. That C sharp is going to be the note that is not necessarily in any other chord. It can sound kind of jarring, something that we might want to consider later on for our melodic aspect. If we were in the key of C major, right, we have a nice C, E, G chord. All that has to happen to change to create this into some sort of an A chord or an A7 is to change this C to a C sharp. If we do that right away, that's going to create a C sharp diminished chord. And now if we have a little bass note going on, we could add the old A in there. Right? And then that's going to lead us nicely to D minor. Okay, so that's using a secondary dominant or a secondary leading tone chord, right? The leading tone chord being that C sharp diminished. That's going to work for pretty much any modulation that you're trying to do. A secondary dominant or secondary leading chord will do this for you, no problem. The issue is kind of getting there. Sometimes you need a bridge chord. So for this example, the A major isn't the farthest thing away, only because there's one note that's chromatic, but there are plenty other modulations that we can do that involve more chromatics. So let's do the distance of a tritone for this next modulation. So from the key of C major to the key of F sharp major, we have a tritone distance, right? Right, the old devil's interval is what they used to call that guy, right? So that's a little bit further away. The building of an F sharp major chord is F sharp, A sharp, C sharp. So those are 3 notes that don't necessarily fit in our progression. So what we're going to have to do is try to find a chord that is borrowed or somewhat related to C major and F sharp major at the same time. Now I can tell you right off the bat that there's not that many, but there is one really big one in this case. For this case, our Neapolitan second, which may be a new topic for some people, but the Neapolitan second in this world is a D flat major, but could also be inharmonically read as a C sharp major, which is the 5th of F sharp major. So that kind of works out really nice for us, but it's also important to realize that where the borrowed chord comes from. A Neapolitan second is a borrowed chord that is used in the minor mode. Right? So if we have C minor going, right, this will take off of the Phrygian mode. So using that C sharp or D flat to help us get to an F sharp major might work well. So let's try this. We're going to do a C major chord. Right. Then I'm going to play a little bit in the Phrygian scale. Now I'm going to drop Now we made it to F sharp major using that Neapolitan second as a bridging chord to help us create this 5 of 5 relationship. So at first, the function of the Neapolitan chord was just that. It was a Neapolitan chord, which would lead us actually very nicely to 5. The Neapolitan chord is usually set up as a predominant. So that was the Neapolitan to G major after, using the Neapolitan as a subdominant. which is very common, especially in classical, Baroque, and Romantic music. But in this case, we're going to take the relationship of the Neapolitan and its function and kind of alter it a little bit by adding that 7, which is going to give us a tritone that wants to resolve inwards to our new tonic, which would be our F sharp major. This would also work going to F sharp minor. Okay, there's actually a note that would be more relative to C major than it would be going from F sharp major to C major. F sharp minor has an A natural in it rather than an A sharp, which is in the key of C, so it's a little bit more natural sounding. I will bring up another borrowed chord that I use all of the time, and it's flat 7. It's going to be our subtonic chord, right? It's when you take the leading tone chord in the key of C major, that is a B diminished, and you flatten the root by a half step, creating a B flat major. Okay? That is from the mixed Lydian mode. It's probably one of my favorite chords to use in my reggae band, Elephants Dancing. It has this very chill sound. The other thing that I really like about it is your third note in your major scale, right, that 3, if you play the flat 7 chord, it becomes a sharp 4 in it. And it has a little bit of a Lydian sound to it. I use that a lot. I love that relationship. But those borrowed chords are very easy to use as the bridging chords to another secondary dominant. So it's kind of a good idea to think about where your chords come from, how far away certain chords are, the kind of relationship that it can have, and alternate functions. Now, you may know right off the bat that if you throw a dominant 7 on your root chord in any key, it's going to push you to the 4th of that key as your new 1. Right, so that was C major turning into a C dominant 7, making that B flat wanting to resolve to the A. Right, and the E going up, because we have that tritone. If you have any questions on modulation, I know this was a really quick video. There are many, many, many things to talk about modulation. A lot of its smoothness has to do with its voice leading, which is a whole other topic that I will take on another time. But for right now, I just want you to think about secondary dominants, secondary leading tones, and bridging chords. How you can use them to smoothly transition and modulate from many different key signatures and many different key centers.